Another theater and art person is Steve Flarhety and Trevor Hardwick. They could come down, like Steve and Trevor. Steve and Trevor, we met through Bob Green and folks out in Sag Harbor. We became very close and really good friends of the family, cooking and bringing us stuff. And they were constantly, through Melinda's illness, bringing us flowers and chocolates and soups. And our artistic talk was all the time. And Steve, like Carmen, are sort of like Lincoln Center. And I don't know if you saw the photo that I sent around is the Henry Moore here, the water in Lincoln Center. You know, it's Melinda. And Steve and Trevor really were in our home with our boys a lot over these past years. And I just wanted them to say a couple of words.
I'm Trevor and this is Steve. I'm going to use the podium because if I don't read it, I'll mess it up and you don't want to see that. After all these very intelligent people speaking already, I think we're going to be the comedic. Well, we met Melinda, Joe, Robert, James almost 10 years ago in Sag Harbor at a neighbour's 4th of July party. And to say the least, it's always a little bit awkward living in the US and being English on such a day. On this particular occasion, our unthinking or sadistic host, I'm not still sure which she was, would recite part of the Declaration of Independence each year. So Melinda and I were just getting to know one another, and our host came by with a sheet of paper with the Declaration of Independence on it. And she asked us to read a portion for ourselves. Melinda shot her a daggered look, looked at me, rolled her eyes, and I knew I was going to like her. As we got to know Melinda a little better, we found we had much in common. A love of the arts, conversation, and our general inquisitive outlook on life. We shared many afternoons and evenings around the pool or at the dinner table, chatting or philosophizing over a meal I prepared, only to watch Melinda just rearrange things around her plate rather than eat it. She didn't have much of an appetite. She was always much more interested in the conversation than the meal itself. And a slight bit figure-conscious too, if I might say. Melinda and I were both equestrians and shared the same trainer at a stable called Sag Pond Farm in Bridgehampton. Robert and James, you both know that place very well. Our trainer Joe would assess our progress and try to assign us to the most suitable horse available. At one point, Melinda had taken a shine to a troubled gelding named Chester, who had been abused in his early years and was still very nervous about life in general. I arrived at the stable one morning to find that I'd been assigned to Chester that day, and Melinda a new horse that we'd never heard of. So I was heading towards the stable area, and I heard Melinda in an impeccably English accent calling, "Donde está Chester?" Melinda always sounded English, whichever language she was speaking. She had decided that, even though our trainer had thought differently, she was indeed riding Chester that day. In the sake of friendship, I let that one go. Melinda left us all with many precious memories. Another friend told me that the legacy Melinda had left her was to live more boldly and more extremely, which are things that she did in spades every day, and what made her who she was. Mm-hmm.
I can only do one thing. I've only done one thing my entire life, which is play the piano and write music. But Melinda had so many talents, as evidenced from this afternoon. Painting, poetry, filmmaking, playwriting, journalism, and a keen interest in the interdisciplinary intersection of the arts. I think that was her greatest love right there. She was also probably the greatest conversationalist that I've ever met. But I'd venture to say that her greatest talent was her insatiable curiosity. Like a child, she was always running towards something unknown or unexpected, always thrilled and excited, hoping to find some sort of an answer or a clue or something. Running, that's Melinda, and that's how I will always think of her. Constantly in motion, whether chasing an idea, a brushstroke, the perfect turn of phrase, a horse on the loose, or simply taking one of her long ruminative walks along the beach at Barcelona Point at Sag Harbor. I don't think any of us knew what she found on those long solitary walks, but I do know that whatever she learned from them is celebrated so much in her paintings and in her writings and in her life. I have to say I enjoyed and valued our post-meal chats in Sag Harbor, where Trevor would cook up a feast, and invariably we would wind up talking about what we were currently pursuing in our separate areas. Being a composer and a musician, I truly enjoyed our talks, thinking that at some point that we actually might get to the bottom of what we were actually discussing, but in fact we never did. But it didn't matter at all. The fun of it was the journey itself, the to be continued nature of our talks, and I couldn't wait until next week's installment. I felt bonded to Melinda in so many ways. We share a birth date, and she and Trevor share a birth year. She and
Never
Trevor
owned up to that.
She never owned up to that. But she and Trevor are both Brits and yet chose to live in America. Trev and Melinda shared the love of horses, and we all shared a great love of the arts. What I missed the most, I think, is the intimacy that we all shared. Being able to speak to Melinda about a daily struggle, whether artistic or personal, and knowing that you were simply heard and taken in, and knowing that it would all be to be continued. I miss that every day. So let us all remember Melinda today and her incredibly original and eccentric spirit, and how lucky we all were to have been able to share some time with her for as long as this world allowed.
We'd just like to finish by reciting a very short poem by Melinda's beloved William Blake. For us, it masterfully sums up in 4 short lines a way to approach friendships and relationships. It's called Eternity. He who binds to himself a joy does the winged life destroy, but he who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. Thank you.